Well, I'm here today, and this is our first attempt at the Ag Econ 2010 podcast. Maybe you'll see more content as we grow this thing. Maybe it'll turn into something that we can get a bunch of sponsors of, and we can make some money off of it. Wouldn't that be cool, Russell?
Yeah, it would be.
I'm here with my friend Russell Plumer. He's actually one of my students in the classroom version of this class. And he's going to actually interview me with some questions and maybe drill down a little deeper than just the 4 questions. Isn't that what we're going to do, Russell?
That's the end goal of this podcast.
Okay. Well, it's always good to have a goal in mind, isn't it, when we get started? I'll just let you get started.
What type of business do you run? Like, I know you have a packing outfitting company. What is your what do you run it as?
Well, we started out as a general partnership, but actually converted it into an LLC after I bought out my original 2 partners and got some investment capital at the time we formed the LLC.
What was your main purpose of going to an LLC?
Well, the main purpose, well, it was twofold. One of them was of course, to avoid liability on the business, and that was really probably more germane to my 2 partners who were already accomplished and successful people as far as in business goes, and they wanted some protections that way, and wouldn't have probably invested in the company if we hadn't have done that. And the other ones, it was some of the tax advantages that we got by setting up an LLC.
Would you like to mention these tax advantages?
Well, we chose Subchapter S filing for the LLC, and what that did is that any profits or losses that are run through the company, they go down to each one of the members and were taxed at our individual rate. And that's been a big thing. Of course, they didn't need a whole lot of deductions, and when we first set it up, we were actually losing money the first couple of years in the startup phase. But as we became more profitable, it made it a lot more efficient to run it that way tax-wise.
And what would you say was comparing it to a partnership tax or the sole proprietor? Just having it on your own personal or splitting it up?
Well, I mean, those 3 entities, you have lots of flexibility when you can run a cash set of books as far as taxes go. So that, even though I might buy an asset, I might be able to deduct it in that 1 year that I'm highly profitable. In another year, we might have to do some tax planning and that sort of thing, but not have to expense things out that same year. But so those 3 entities that you mentioned, probably there wouldn't be a lot of difference as far as the taxes go. But the LLC and handling it as a Subchapter S, one big advantage to it was that I could pay myself as the company owner manager a wage. And just like any other employee with benefits, as long as I was offering that to my other employees as well.
And just basically, what were the advantages of your LLC when it came to your outfitting company? Like just being liable, were you ever sued because someone got hurt on the way? How would that help? How would that help with you?
Well, we were in business almost 30 years, and we did have one lawsuit where a client was injured, and actually we were only liable from the business point of view as far as the lawsuit goes. It was settled by the insurance companies, but our personal assets weren't at stake at all.
Would you say that's a benefit for other companies? Just your personal assets aren't being targeted.
Absolutely.
It's just company.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we had our we've got a couple of properties and our house and lots of personal assets that weren't part of the business, and it certainly protected all those things like it should have, like we set it up to do.
Were any family members or relatives in your LLC, or is it just your three other businesses?
I did hire a few, but I didn't have any as far as in the management or the ownership of the company.
That makes sense. Would you just like to add on to the major tax advantages, like just certain things that helps?
Well, one of the advantages that I kind of alluded to earlier was the fact that with the LLC, just like a corporate structure, I could pay myself wages, and with a sole proprietorship and a partnership, you don't typically, there's some ways to do it, but it's pretty difficult to do that. Plus, I could also offer myself and my employees health benefits and other benefits, and those were all deductible on my taxes as well. So, I mean, it was an advantage in that way. I'd had to gone out on my own and take profits out of the company and get my health insurance, for instance, at the time. So, that was, you still end up paying for it, but at least I was able to deduct it and decrease my tax liability because of it.
Do you have anything else you'd like to further add on anything, or?
I would say that, it's kind of a personal choice to a certain extent. LLCs are really cheap to set up. I think at the time we set it up in the mid-90s, that it was, I paid a lawyer actually to set it up. I think you can do it all on your own if you just do a little research. But at that time, it was only about $300 to do it, and it's certainly money well spent as far as the liability side of things. Worked out real well for us, and some of the savings from having it as a separate entity and liability certainly are worth actually setting up a company like that.
Had you ever thought about making it a C corporation where you have people add stocks or anything, or is it just always the limited liability company?
Well, that's that's a good question. A limited liability company, it's a percentage of ownership is distributed among the members, and so I could sell a part of my percentage or all of my percentage, and we did have it set up because I didn't want to get partners I didn't know or partners I didn't agree with. We don't just had 3 members, but we had to actually come to an agreement percentage-wise. Now, in our company, I own 90% of the memberships, and my 2 partners own 5%. So I had also the opportunity to overrule them. I mean, one of the things that really worked out well is that they were off-site, and they weren't really interested in just the day-to-day operation of it. They just gave that to me, and they didn't micromanage at all in that regard. But again, I still kept control. I could veto anything that they had to say. I would say I probably never did, just because all the wealth and knowledge that they brought to the table with their business experience that was invaluable, just to include them in that regard.
Thank you for having me on for this interview.
Oh, sure. Let's go out and make some money.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you, Russell.